All right, let's jump right in. Ever wonder what separates a good IELTS essay from a great Band 9 essay? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the exact language used in a top-scoring answer about happiness. Let's see what makes it tick. And for this breakdown, we're going straight to the source. This is all from the experts at the THEIELTSFOCUS, so you know we're looking at the real deal, exactly what scores are looking for.
So, here's our game plan. We'll start with how to paraphrase the question like a pro. Then, we'll dig into the specific language for talking about the teenage years and adulthood. We'll look at how to write a conclusion with real nuance, and wrap it all up with a Band 9 toolbox you can take with you. Ready?
Okay, first things first, paraphrasing the question. You know, this is way more than just swapping out a few words. It's your first chance to show the examiner you've really understood the heart of the task. So, here's the question we're working with. Some people think that the teenage years are the happiest times of most people's lives. Others think that adult life brings more happiness in spite of greater responsibilities. Discuss both views and give your own opinion. It's a classic, right? What's better, youth or adulthood? Now, let's see how a Band 9 response tackles this. Okay, check this out. It's not just about finding synonyms. Happiest times becomes a cleaner, happiest is teenagers. Simple, effective. But the real genius move here, that last line. Each stage of life has its ups and downs. Wow. Instead of just repeating the question, it sets up the entire debate with a sophisticated, balanced idea. That tells the examiner you're in control right from the start. All right, so with that great opening, let's dive into the first body paragraph. We're going to focus on the language used to talk about the teenage years, the good and the bad. So the essay says, life from the teenage perspective can seem very happy, parents meet all of their needs. Okay, sounds good. But then, however, a lack of maturity can easily get teenagers into trouble. There's also a great deal of pressure academically. And here's the killer line. Therefore, this time of life looks a lot happier on the outside than it is in reality. See that? It's not just a list of pros and cons. It's an argument with depth. And let's zoom in on that phrase, a lack of maturity. The writer could have just said teenagers are childish or they make bad decisions. But a lack of maturity sounds so much more academic, so much more precise. It's this kind of word choice that really elevates your writing. So let's recap the key language from that section. We've got phrases like meet all of their needs and plenty of opportunities to relax on one side, but then you've got a lack of maturity and a great deal of pressure academically on the other. Using these phrases together lets you paint that really complex, balanced picture of what it's like to be a teen. Okay, so we've covered the teens. Now let's switch gears and look at the language used for the other side of the coin, adulthood. Here, the essay starts with the tough stuff. For adults, everyday life is a lot less carefree, and that they might reminisce about their childhood years. But then, bam, that magic word, nevertheless. This signals a complete shift. It argues that with maturity, you get the ability to deal with any challenges, which leads to a sense of personal satisfaction. You see? It's building a case, not just stating facts. And this table just lays it all out so clearly. For teens, you have carefree, leading to what the essay calls apparent happiness. But for adults, it's a different journey. You go from responsibilities to maturity to a deeper satisfaction. It's a fantastic way to see the core contrast the essay is building. Here's another great vocabulary moment, reminisce. The writer could have just said remember, but reminisce is so much richer, isn't it? It has that feeling of looking back with fondness, a little bit of nostalgia. It adds a whole layer of emotion with just one word. All right, let's add to our toolkit with the language for adulthood. Notice the mix here. You've got the practical, everyday stuff like having to afford accommodation and other expenses, right next to the really deep emotional concepts like achieving a sense of personal satisfaction. A Band 9 essay moves between these two worlds effortlessly. Now for what might be the most important part, the conclusion. A great conclusion isn't just repeating what you've already said. It's where you bring everything together to make your final, most powerful point. Okay, just listen to how this essay concludes. In conclusion, happiness, like all emotions, is a temporary state. Although it is tempting to associate it with being young and carefree, in my view, happiness is a much more complex and deeper emotion that is closer to the contentment more often achieved in adulthood. Wow, it's just so well crafted. It acknowledges the other side with although it is tempting, and then delivers this really thoughtful, sophisticated final opinion. And that's the key takeaway right there. The essay doesn't just say, I think adults are happier,
No, it goes deeper. It argues that we need to redefine happiness itself as something more like contentment. And that kind of complex, nuanced thinking is pure Band 9 material. All right, we've taken the whole thing apart. Now let's put together our Band 9 toolbox, all the key language you can take away and use in your own essays.
First up, phrases for showing contrast. These are your best friends in a discuss both views essay. Words like however and nevertheless are essential for signaling a turn in your argument. And that phrase, although it is tempting to, is just a golden way to show you've considered the other side before making your own point. Next, the language of life's pressures. Being specific is so important. Instead of just saying life is hard, you can talk about greater responsibilities or pressure academically. These phrases give your arguments real substance and make them much more convincing.
And of course, the language of happiness itself. This is how you move beyond simple ideas. Are you talking about being carefree? Or are you talking about a deeper personal satisfaction or contentment? Using these different words shows you understand that happiness is a complex and deeper emotion, not just one simple thing.
So let's wrap this up with a final thought on how you can apply all this. So here's a question for you. Which of these phrases will you use to make your next essay more powerful? Seriously, think about it. Pick one or two and try them out, because that's how you really improve, by taking these tools and actually putting them to work.